everybody, and welcome to this week's live. So, today I'm going to talk about healing our relationship to time, and this can actually have huge implications for your life if the relationship to time is kind of fucked up as it is. And I think most of us, like, we're kind of trained into more of an unhealthy relationship with time. Time is money, your productivity equals your worth, that kind of thing. Um, And I know for me personally, kind of like critiquing what I've been taught about time really shifted a lot for me. So I'm going to be covering it from three different angles. One is, time in our day to day life. The other is our own timeline, like life timeline. And the other thing is like looking at our timeline as malleable, so timeline jumping. So our relationship to our own life's timeline. I think what can trip us up a lot is looking at time as like this scarce resource, and that once we lost it forever, that kind of thing. And looking at it like that, like for me, looking at it more from like a quantum perspective, which is like all time is happening simultaneously, all at once. The way I like to think of it is like, say you take a picture of somebody in motion, and you'll see like the different snapshots of the person walking through ends up being like a big blob. And I like to look at time more as like almost as if it's like a big blob and everything is happening all at once. And from that perspective, it's more it's you have more sovereignty over like, oh, okay, I didn't get stuff done this like the past hour, now I just wasted my life. It's less like that and more like choosing and calibrating to each now and every now moment. A lot of us, like, we're fed the script of, like, okay, go to school, get a degree or trade thing or whatever, get a house, get married. And, a lot of us feel like we're not good enough if we haven't, like, met those markers for, being on a good timeline. And for me, like looking at it, like if I were to follow that script of a timeline of what I should follow, like for example, like get married after going to school, whatever, and it's like if I did that, then I'd probably be divorced by now. And it's just looking at it like each of us have very unique timelines that will look very different from what is prescribed to us, and that we need to really honor like our own script and our own path. Like, you can save up money steadily and like retire by 40. You can be really shitty with money for your whole life and then all of a sudden like make it big in your industry at like, I don't know, 50. You can get married at 22, realize they're not for you, and then like when you're in your 40s, divorce and meet the love of your life. Like everything, it's all like really according to your own blueprint. And in terms of like in our daily life, I think a lot of us are um, kind of like racing against the clock, like trying to get stuff done. And it's almost as if like, yeah, we're just like never, it's almost like living in like a constant disassociation of like, okay, I need to get stuff done. I need to like beat the clock. And it's like, yeah, like I think looking at it more from like less like time is currency and more like time is cyclical and happening all at once can really shift our relationship to this. Um, And in terms of like timelines as a malleable thing, like if we look at trauma, we know like for example with PTSD, like the classic example is like someone hears a gunshot and um, then they're kind of transported back to like being on the battlefield. And in a sense, like trauma is in a way like being stuck in like a certain timeline because the brain is still programmed to that old reality. And like if we want to shift like this perspective like from beyond just like PTSD into like everyday life, it's like a lot of us are kind of like programmed to like older versions of timelines and we keep on playing them out because we're just programmed into that reality. Like so for example, it's like if you've ever had the experience of like dating like similar types of people, like for example, like people who cheat, um, and it's like the reason why that happens is, childhood imprinting, and we're trying to resolve something from our childhood. Um, like, for example, emotionally unavailable partners, so we date emotionally unavailable people via cheating, or like our parents were a cheater, so then like our childhood psyche is imprinted with that kind of figure, I guess. And so we end up dating the same person over and over again, and in a sense, we're kind of repeating that timeline because we're programmed into that. Timeline jumping refers to kind of letting go of what we've been programmed with and shifting into something else by changing our habits, thoughts, patterns. So in the example of PTSD, it's like healing that initial trigger so that that person is no longer in that timeline of war essentially. And in the example of dating the same unhealthy person over and over again, it's like realizing that that's a pattern that we've been imprinted with, and then just letting it go, so then we can shift into the new timeline of dating healthier people. And looking at it like this, it's like we're always like shifting our trajectory based on our now moment decision points. And so it's not as if like we've lost all that time because we didn't choose. It's like we always have the choice point available to us, like whenever we decide to to utilize it. So today we're gonna do a tapping on, yeah, just healing our relationship to time. If you feel like you're always like trying to catch up to it and like that it's almost like ruling over you. So let's begin. So we start at the karate chop point. Even though I feel like I never have enough time, and I'm always racing against the clock, trying to get shit done, I feel like my to-do list is a big tyranny and that I can never get it all done. I feel like there's just not enough time. And I hate how I'm never in the present moment because of this. Or, I feel like my life isn't the way I wanted it to go. And I feel like I've made poor choices. And that I'm not where I want to be or, should be. But even though I feel like I am always racing against the clock and don't feel like I have enough time, or I feel like my life hasn't gone the way I wanted it to go, or I'm not where I want to be at this age, I'm choosing to have a different relationship to time and to my own personal timeline. I'm going to let go of the scarcity mentality regarding time and replacing it with more of an expansive and proactive view of time. I know I can get the things done on my to do list without feeling like it's ruling over me, without feeling like I'm losing time. I want to choose to believe that there is enough time, that time is like breath. As long as I'm living, I'm not running out of breath. And time is the same way. I'm not off track on my life's timeline. And I'm going to choose to be in more of a harmonious relationship to how things are unfolding in my life, rather than beating myself up about how things aren't going the way that I want it to at this time in my life. I'm letting go of looking at time as a scarce resource and choosing to have a more friendly relationship to it, to see that time is actually on my side. I'm going to choose to be more in the moment and not be ruled by scarcity thinking with time. because I deeply and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. I'm choosing to believe that there is enough time and that I am on time on my own life path because I deeply and completely love, accept, and forgive myself. And just gonna finish up the tapping here. Okay,